Now, Robert Refkin, who's the CEO of Compass, he's calling for a national MLS. Now, national MLS, I think is kind of a dumb idea just because of the way that it all works today. But he's on to something. If you think about the average monthly MLS fee is about $30. And if we've got 1 million agents and brokers paying $30 a month, that's $30 million a month. That's a $360 million a year secure revenue stream. Now, how much would it cost to build a national MLS? It certainly wouldn't cost $360 million a year. And so for a lot less than 300, if in fact the technology were all it was about, you could do this for a lot less, create a valuable stream of revenue and a very valuable asset. MLS is not that generic. And that's what makes the idea of saving all this money so far out. Maybe someday, but right now it's a little out there. We are coming down in the number of MLSs. So that's another point. The number of MLSs was over 1,000 a few years ago. Now it's 600. We got people telling you that you've got to consolidate the MLSs, consolidate the MLSs. Well, Robert Refkin, this is really consolidation. Get it all down to one. But there's no reason that the associations of realtors need to listen and collapse all their MLSs. An MLS is a business asset of an association. It's a business asset. If somebody comes to you and says, sell your business, give away your business asset, give away the asset that makes the most money for you, you're probably not going to give it away if you think about it at all. And yet we've got people coming at the industry saying, you've got to consolidate. No, you don't. The people that say that don't know any more than the people that say otherwise. Maybe you need some way for everybody to see everything, but whether or not that needs to be owned at one spot, I question that. Particularly when you look at the politics and you look at the nature of real estate, and we know that all real estate is local. It's not done all exactly the same. Yeah, you could save a lot of money. There's a lot of other things, and maybe that's a good idea. I just say approach that with caution. The DOJ, the Department of Justice, and the National Association of Realtors are always going back and forth over issues of antitrust, and we might see some pushback in the future with employees and independent contractors. So we look at the evolution of real estate companies moving into the future and what brokers do and what agents do and what buyers do and what sellers do. Know that there's also a framework of governance and law around everything. Now, what we will see in the next couple of years is things are changing. And we're already seeing fundamental changes, paradigm shifts, we call them. What is a paradigm? A paradigm is a model. It's the way things are done. The National Football League has a football paradigm. Hunt the field's 100 yards long, got goalposts, right? That's a paradigm. And if you understand the paradigm, then you learn how to compete within the paradigm. And so paradigms are real important, and they're just models of the way things are done. But those models are changing. A change of a paradigm is not just a change. This is key. It's a fundamental change. Fundamental. And we are seeing fundamental changes taking place in the real estate industry today. So here's what you got to do to stay ahead of it. You got to keep asking yourself this question. What's currently impossible? And if it were possible, it would fundamentally change my business. Because if I can figure that out, then I can prepare. Now here's the rub here, though. Remember earlier I said, your wildest dream is not wild enough. There is no more science fiction. That means that nothing's impossible, right? So anything you can think of might be possible. So you need to start to think about preparing for it. Now here's an interesting example about rock music. In 2005, an average of one U.S. rock radio station went out of business every week. Every week, a rock station would go out of business. Now, this didn't happen because we all got tired of rock and roll. I don't like rock and roll anymore, so nobody's going to ever... No, that's not what happened. What happened is there was a fundamental change or a paradigm shift in the delivery of music. It was an iPod. And you think about the way we listen to music. The last century, we would turn on the radio and we'd let someone else select the songs for us. And if we heard a song we liked, we had to wait almost all day for it to get played again. And that whole delivery mechanism changed when you could select the song you want, listen to the song you want, go up to Napster and get the song you want, file sharing, And so all of a sudden, these rock stations, very good businesses for years, very good businesses, selling advertising, making a lot of money, they started going out of business. And it wasn't because the product wasn't any good. It was because there was a paradigm shift, a fundamental change in the delivery of that content. And so today in real estate, that's what we're seeing. Different ways to get that information out to people. So a paradigm. Know this about paradigms. I got this from Joel Barker. If you've never read anything by Joel Barker, real interesting guy. Did some real good videos in the 90s. But so true. Your past success guarantees nothing when a paradigm shifts. It doesn't matter how successful you were doing it the old way. Like the radio, it doesn't matter how good they were at playing the records. The paradigm shifted and they were out of business. The best example that Joel Barker uses is Swiss watchmakers. In 1968, there were 65,000 Swiss watchmakers. The Swiss invented the quartz crystal. They didn't recognize that it was a paradigm shift. They didn't patent it. They offered it for display at the watch fair in 1968, and 5 years later, there were only 15,000 Swiss watchmakers left because Texas Instruments and Seiko, remember those companies? They jumped in and they put the Swiss watchmaking industry on its heels. It was a paradigm shift. So when a paradigm shift, remember your past. Why didn't the Swiss realize they had invented a new great thing? They were so good at what they did. They said this is a tuning fork. How does a tuning fork compare to jewels and crystals and the way a watch works? No, this is a toy. They just didn't realize it, right? So your past success may block you from seeing the future. Look at all these successful real estate brokers that think they know they have the way to sell real estate. Your past success, hey, I've always done it this way and I've always made money. Past success may block you from seeing the future. And when a paradigm shifts, everyone goes back to zero. So when there's a paradigm shift, everybody starts over. Doesn't matter that you led the marketplace before the paradigm shift. After the paradigm shift, it's back to zero. And oftentimes people get what's called paradigm paralysis. They get the paradigm shifts and they don't know what to do. So don't get stuck in that mode. So remember this, right? Your wildest dream is not wild enough. Your